Since I've read all of the Jane Austen novels, I've decided to go ahead and do a video where I just kind of rank them and talk about them. Sort of like a compare and contrast and telling you guys what I like about certain ones and what I don't like. So I'll start with my least favorite, which is Sense and Sensibility. It's not that Sense and Sensibility is bad. I overall enjoyed it. I love all of her novels, but I like this one the least. Reason number one, the love interests are pretty lackluster. Edward Ferrars, I think it's Edward, he's just really dull. There's nothing particularly, interesting about him. And I get that that kind of makes him a good match for Eleanor, but still, he's just really nothing particularly amazing. And then there's the whole Marianne and Colonel Brandon thing. I love Alan Rickman, so I really love that pairing in that particular version of the movie. But otherwise, it really is kind of like, he just deserves her because he's a good guy. I can see the attraction in the movie version, and even in the miniseries it kind of makes sense, but in the book, I can see why, she just doesn't feel that attracted to him. And just overall, I just feel Sense and Sensibility not as strong of a story, and the characters aren't as strong. Next up for me would be Mansfield Park. Mansfield Park actually was better than I had thought. I thought it would be my least favorite because most people don't care for Mansfield Park that much, but I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. I was actually surprised with how much I liked Fanny. And what I liked about Fanny is that she was such a meek, sweet, mild girl of the time, and yet she stood her ground about not wanting to marry what's-his-face, Crawford. She didn't want to marry him, and she was like, no, he seemed kind of skanky, and good for you. I can appreciate that about you, Fanny. However, Edmund, her cousin, lame love interest. He's even worse than Edward Ferrars. He is just completely... He spends the whole book in love with another woman, and he doesn't realize he loves Fanny until, the last 5 pages. It's very unromantic, in my opinion. I'm sorry. Just no love for him. He's an idiot. What I like about it is that, is it John Crawford? He seems like he's a very interesting character. He could almost be a good guy, except when Fanny says no, instead of just trying to prove that he's a good guy, he goes ahead and runs off with Mariah, proving Fanny right all along. I didn't like how in that one version, I think it's the 1999 movie version, they made it seem like it was Fanny's fault for rejecting him. No, she didn't force him to go sleep with her cousin. Overall, I like that version, though. That adaptation. It's pretty interesting. Next up for me would be Northanger Abbey. I actually really enjoyed Northanger Abbey a lot. It's really awesome. What are they doing? In fact, I really have nothing to say wrong about it. The only thing is, it would have been a lot better for me if there'd been more Henry Tilney. I loved him. He would almost be my favorite Austen male love interest, if not for the fact that he's not really in the book that much. I just thought he was so weird and quirky. It was cute. I also think that Northanger Abbey has probably the most annoying set of characters, John and Isabella Thorpe. Oh my god, did I want to kill them. They're both so obnoxious in their own way, and they were just so rude and just absolutely perfect examples of crappy friends. Good job, Jane Austen. You knew what you were doing. For my, second and third, they're kind of tied, but I'll go ahead and say next up would be Emma for me. Emma, I think, is the longest. It took me a really long time to read that one, but is pretty damn awesome. Emma is an awesome character. She's just such a snob, and she's just so funny and misguided, and let me tell you, I think Clueless is probably one of the best Jane Austen adaptations of all time. I could watch that movie over and over, and it's just so perfectly captures the novel. I've never seen an adaptation that modernizes things better. And really, who wouldn't love Mr. Knightley? The only thing is he is kind of always teaching her stuff, which is the same with Henry Tilney and Catherine Morland. Still, Mr. Knightley, he's so lovely. All in all, Emma is really fun, and we get to see a character who needs a lot of character growth. while Skylar and Cedric wrestle on the bed. So for my number 2, I would go with Pride and Prejudice. I mean, like I said, it's kind of tied with Emma, but Pride and Prejudice is Pride and Prejudice, and Mr. Darcy is Mr. Darcy, and who doesn't love Mr. Darcy? I think over time, he's been kind of overdone. One of the things about Mr. Darcy is he actually was an asshole in the beginning. I think that's a really good point to note, is he really was an asshole, and he actually loved Elizabeth enough to go ahead and try to change himself and become a better person. But what makes Pride and Prejudice so great is Lizzie Bennet. I mean, talk about a really strong female character. She is definitely, in my opinion, the strongest of the heroines. She also has just such a memorable family, and all the characters, I think, are really, really good in that one. I really haven't met anyone who doesn't like Pride and Prejudice. My all-time favorite Jane Austen, though, is definitely Persuasion. I think I've said it several times. There's something about Persuasion that is special to me. I think it's because of all of the heroines, I relate to Anne Elliot the most. She is the most like me. She is not a particular feisty lady. She's much more of a calm, quiet type, but she's very sensible and she has strong, passionate feelings. And I like that she doesn't keep them hidden like Eleanor Dashwood, that you can tell what she's feeling, which I appreciate. I think another reason that Persuasion is my favorite is that out of all the love stories, it feels the most just desperate, like the most, how are they ever going to end up together? In the other ones, it seems like you just kind of know they're going to end up together eventually, and I don't know. There's something about Persuasion where it feels genuinely hopeless at times, and you feel that pain and that heartache with Anne Elliot. You're just like, oh, I couldn't help but feel so bad for her that she'd made the mistake and she lost this awesome guy. And Captain Wentworth, oh, he is just delightful. Here he is, and what I love about him so much is, first of all, he's genuinely hurt, and I think that's great. I think he's allowed to be really hurt, and I think he's allowed to be a little bit of an asshole after what happened to him. What's great about him is he sees Anne for who she is, just through her actions, and he listens to what she says to other people, he notices what she does, and he knows that she's awesome. There's a lot of, I think, like high school romance stories where you've got the quiet, shy girl, and she has a crush on some popular boy. You know, at some point he notices her and they fall in love and all that. And they always feel so not genuine to me, because it's like, why did he notice her? You know, there's usually never any particularly good reason for him to notice her. But with those two, there is. There's the fact that they had a romance before, and also he can compare her behavior to that of, say, Louisa and Henrietta Musgrove. And there's just such a stark difference. And he sees and he observes, and I really like that she doesn't have to be flamboyant and loud and obnoxious in order to get his attention. She gets his attention by just being herself. There's something special about Persuasion, and out of all these novels, it's the only one that I can really talk about and like passionate feelings, I tell you. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on different Jane Austen novels as well. I'm open to debate, I'm open to agreeing, I'm open to whatever you have to say. I'm curious. There's so much more I'd love to say, but I can't really think of it right now, and I don't want to go on forever, so I'm going to cut myself off here. It ought to be known, I loved every single one of Jane Austen's novels, even the ones that I didn't like as much as the other ones. And I highly recommend everything by her to pretty much everyone. I know there's going to be a lot of people who it's not really their thing, but I think it's worth to at least give them a shot. At the very least, try out Pride and Prejudice, because that's the one that everyone really loved. You know, if you're a person of my heart, I hope you like Persuasion. And anyway, I hope you're all doing well. Bye!